Hello, this is Pigsy. Yeah, so this is sort of a follow-on from one of my other videos. So I've got with me at the moment, this is an orgone pyramid I made a while back. It's also got a sort of like glaze to it that basically, it can glow slightly in the dark. So if it's ever completely pitch black, so I've got some sort of air bubbles that have formed inside it as well. I use sand in it as well because that's kind of the part of the quartz. It did have crystals and other things put into it. I think, what did I put in there? Magnetite and some other sort of stuff. I originally put inside it, but with the sand, it's quite dominant for it, and also I tried to put some dye in it, but actually the sand absorbed it pretty well. It sort of absorbed it into the middle, drew it into the middle. I was trying to make it a bit more colourful. Yeah, it did take a sort of. I also had it as a kind of hard cast mixture, so there's a sort of a quickening agent you put into it, the catalyst. So I put quite a bit in there, so it could really sort of get it going. I was hoping it sort of with so much heat that it would just sort of be able to sort of fuse the sand a bit and do stuff like that. So yeah, so anyway, that's that. I call this one the Vault because as you can see, there's something else to it as well. There's I basically put a jam jar inside it, a small jam jar, and what I've got inside the jam jar. So just pop that on there a sec. Is the Moldavite. Let's see the best. There we go. I can't tell if it's a fake, to be honest. I don't think so. It feels kind of rough, a bit like slate. So it's got a sort of rough texture to it. I used it in an experiment yesterday. When I first got it, the actual temperature of it was kind of, it wasn't cold or hot. Now it's having something else, another effect. Basically, I shoved it into a Rife machine. And it wasn't working properly. So a Rife machine basically uses frequencies, like scalar waves, to so basically these frequencies, if you send them into a DNA sample or something, due to the nature of quantum entanglement, signal bridges between the two masses. It's a bit like what you get with if you had Siamese twins and you affect one and the other one's affected. So basically, I've sent frequencies to do with like DNA repair and all sorts of things that have been sort of, I guess when people have entered certain states, that they've actually must have researched what frequencies are related to, like chakras and things like that, and that's why it can use this sort of method of sending stuff across. So anyway, I blasted it with this sort of energy. I went out last night and I did my other video, and yeah, when I come back, because before when I first got it, it didn't have, the temperature of it was like room temperature, so it was wrapped up in plastic and so on, and it probably taken on properties around it, so it was a temperature of the plastic. Anyway, it was indoors and it wasn't cold inside my sort of where I live, but so I put this sort of, because it's got a little edge on it, I slid that into this remote device that uses a combination of magnets as a kind of like, it's like a portal in a way, but it uses that kind of quantum field. It makes a hell of a lot of noise as well, which are probably something else I'll look at later on today. So yeah, so I slid it in there with certain DNA samples, and then I just blasted the energy, went out, come back, and when I picked it up, it was actually really cold. It was like it was being in cold water. So I sort of held it in your hand. So when you first get these things, you sort of want to hold them for a bit, and then you find yourself encasing it with your own energy, and then seeing it. It's a bit like now. It feels quite warm. I mean, I don't feel like a massive effect, but then I've got all these devices in. I've got like sort of like 9 orgone pyramids in my flat, and some of them I've made them and I've sort of passed them to sold them or relatives. I've also got some other smaller devices as well. Generally with orgone, it's kind of like you feel the air seems quite fresh. So if you live inside a flat or wherever, you'll find that you find it quite cool and refreshing. A bit like you would do if you went out first thing in the morning and you felt a breeze on you, that fresh air. So I tend to feel that sometimes is a kind of part of this energy to do to do the organ. So now it's warming up. It's not exactly really hot. And also, what do I sense? It's I mean, when you get things very cold, it's usually sometimes when they're pressurized. But maybe it was just like entering that quantum field. And then when I went to bed, I had this. I don't know. I sensed something else in the room. It's quite unusual. But I also had this thing, this like a dinosaur eye. I sort of saw. It's a bit freaky because what I've also sometimes done my experiments is I put like got a dinosaur tooth and I put that into the quantum field. I don't think the dinosaur doesn't dislike me, but it's just a little freaky sometimes. I just sort of like the skin was brown and probably sort of a yellowy eye, and it's just that sort of slowly opening. But it could also be some other creature. You know, this potential stuff might have broken off from another meteorite. I mean, the other one might have impacted in sort of like Kelpa 5, or may have gone somewhere further out into the universe. It might be mined by some other race that's out there, or research. So there's this kind of quantum. When we come back to quantum entanglement, there's that connection between different points in the universe, whatever that might be in space. You know, debate whether it's like some sort of dimension, and there's actually, if things run on frequency, you get to a point where you kind of like dead space, you just can't go beyond it. Yeah, it's my little ship. So you probably get it almost like it's almost like swimming underwater. You get to a point where it's going to be impossible. You're going to run out of resources, or you're just fighting pressure and gravity. So, but if you become something else energy-wise, you can probably travel through that barrier, and that's there's probably some restrictions there. Other things that became aware of. There's something strange. I've seen a lot of men with swollen stomachs, and I'm also aware that you know I'm probably a victim of sort of fatty liver or whatever syndrome, and so I always battle to sort of keep that weight off. But I'm also aware that some of these ETs, because you know they used to go on about phantom pregnancies and stuff like that. I think they've moved on to using men, because that's part of that. They can easily do that as a part of the experiment. So yeah, so that's actually probably a lot of, which might sound bizarre. There's probably a lot of pregnant men that don't realise it. They just like their stomachs are just so swollen. You just look at them and think, that doesn't look right. And it's probably an easy process. So I think if you're a man experiencing like your stomach suddenly swollen up for no reason, and you've got some abnormal sensations inside your stomach, you know, it might be worth. There's a way to sort of check that. It could be something else entirely different, of course, but that would explain some of this weird sort of why so many men have got swollen stomachs. Anyway, this is Pixie signing off, and I will speak to you soon.